social construct is something that society or a group of people have created a definition for the word. A couple of examples that came to my mind were beauty. I think we all might define beauty one way in a textbook or dictionary. However, when you talk in a group, we all tend to have a different definition of what beautiful is. Another example would be a good mother or a good father. Depending upon your culture or where you're from or your experiences, we all more than likely have a different definition of what that is, a good father or a good mother. So I'll let the video do a little more explaining around what a social construct is or how it's created. And the reason that we're explaining this to you is because we feel there is no one right answer to the question that we're posing tonight. Society has defined it in different ways, and that's one of the reasons for our discussion today. So as we move on in our discussion, our session, please keep that in mind.
What does it all mean? I'm not actually having an existential crisis. I'm my good friend, this is Raymond, this is Rebecca, and today we're going to talk about the social creation of meaning. It's going to be very intense, and very deep, and very intellectual. We're going to use a rubbish bin. Very highbrow scholarship. Yes, so today social constructivism and also social constructionism, because there are two different subset theories of constructivist epistemology. Two roughly categories. Epistemology is an actually word that actually is isolated. It refers to the theory of knowledge. Okay, so it's what is truth? How do we know? Who gets to claim and define what truth is? Is there some big truth with a capital T out there somewhere, completely independent of humans? Or is truth only what we define it to be? So everyone has like their own little truth, little T, and my truth can't be any more factual than yours. That kind of thing. Okay, so that's epistemology. Yeah, that's a crisis concept. What does the meaning of meaning and truth and knowledge? Constructivist epistemology, it posits that knowledge and truth, in fact, are created by society and by people. So meaning is only meaning because we give it meaning. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm trying to figure it out right now. But in social constructivism and social constructionism now, we're dealing with how the world around us, so objects and ourselves and categories and some things, are really only categories and things and such because we say that they are as a group of people, right? So, social constructionism deals mostly with the objects, the things themselves. This is a religion, right? Of course, pretty much everyone knows. Obviously, this is a religion. But social constructionism would ask, is this actually a rubbish bin? Unless I say that it's a rubbish bin, right? If this rubbish bin, we're sitting alone on the planet with no humans, saying that it's a rubbish bin, what the heck is it? Okay, to your Earth, the 2.5-year-old, this is some kind of rubbish bin. More often, this drum, preferably pounded on the chopsticks. I'll try to eat it. It's also a soup pot. I cannot tell you how many times I've been forced to drink soup out of this very large soup pot. It's very filling soup. Generally, this soup is made by stirring it and putting it in the earth. Soup pot, rubbish bin, thing in which we insert our 2-year-old body and roll down the hallway. See, yours, that's not yet being fully indoctrinated, if you will. I'm not using a strong word. And social constructivism, that is individual learning around the meanings and perceptions that society gives us, right? So your as a 2-year-old hasn't fully learned or, bought into that this is a rubbish bin and that's all it is. Now I haven't either. This is often actually used as a seat because it's the right height, so I'm not doing it to do these things. But for the most part, I'm gonna look at it and say, yeah, yes, it's a rubbish bin. My trash isn't. Right, because we've given it that function and that identity. And we do this with people too. And with groups of people and with categories and with everything else around us. Right, so social constructivism looks at how individuals learn in society. And of course, there's that weird, right? Society is made of humans, so we, push back and tweak and create, right? But generally speaking, there's kind of this group mentality going on that is giving things around us meaning. So very commonly in my work, gender is seen as a social construction. So something that doesn't actually have meaning except that which society gives it, right? So going back several sex, gender, what I'm supposed to do because I'm a female is highly dependent on the group of people that I'm with and the society that I'm in. So those gender roles are social constructions rather than something that exists outside of humanity that just always is.
That's a slide.
Okay, so again, as we continue with the discussion and we think about what is the purpose and responsibility of education, remember that our definitions may differ, and that's just fine. That's the whole purpose of our session today.
So the next part of what we're going to discuss, and I'll just stand here. Actually, I think I'll just sit. It's just the legal epistemology of what is the purpose of education. And the information I provided on the handout pulls from a couple of sources. I am going to read a couple of things to you because I just want to make sure that I point out some of the language that was used back in 1948 and 1966. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Universal Declaration for Human Rights, Article 26, which say that education is a right granted to all and is free at the elementary and fundamental stages. Parents and legal guardians have the right to choose appropriate schooling for their children, and the purpose of education is this: shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racially or religious groups, and shall fund the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. Now, furthermore, if we look at Article 13 of the International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights of 1966, which states, it provides a framework for developing and assessing educational systems. So, Article 13, the development of a system of schools at all levels shall be actively pursued. An adequate fellowship system shall be established, and the material condition of teaching staff shall be continuously improved. Just take a moment and think about that and how, if we reflect on what our current educational system is there a mismatch? Is there an alignment? What does it look like? What has happened to the purpose of education? Has it changed? Has it warped in any way? So just something to think about. And then the other pieces of what I wanted to point out are some of the Supreme Court cases. And the reason I'm pointing out these Supreme Court cases is because they've actually not worked in our favor. They've set up paradigms that actually go against some of what we have been trying to accomplish with Brown versus Board education. A couple things that put on your handout here, just a second, there's several of them listed. A couple that I want to point out. The one about Pinocchio and Bradley, 1974. It was ruled that it's against compulsory metropolitan desegregation. So in other words, they can do what they want to do, but as long as it's proven that the suburb districts behave with deliberate segregated intent. So in other words, if you can't really prove it, if you can't prove it, then we'll take a look at it. So you can kind of get away with it, okay? The other pieces at the bottom, I'm not going to go over all these because you can read them. The other cases, the Board of Education Oklahoma, Freeman versus Pitt, Missouri versus Jenkins. That's another one that enforces dismissing desegregation orders, allowing for return to neighborhood schools. Now, this should sound very familiar. We can return to neighborhood schools even if doing so meant returning to segregated schools. If we take a look at what's happening with our educational system, we have a lot of great schools popping up. But what's happening with the student population? It's segregating students. Certain students are going to the school, like most of them they look alike, they're from the same family, from the same affluent background or not affluent background. So when you look at what's happening, we want to give you a school choice. We want you to have a choice of society where you will send your children. But are the resources the same? Are the allocation of resources the same depending on which school district you're in? So there's a lot of things to consider. If we're going to take a legal framework and say that's going to help support us moving things forward, well, we take a look at this, it's actually been the opposite. It hasn't helped us in positive ways, or maybe it's helped some, but not others. Who has the system really benefited, and then who has it hurt? So just things to think about as we think, let's use the legal framework to help push a certain agenda. We have to ask whose agenda are we pushing, who's going to benefit from that agenda, and who's going to be hurt by that agenda, or that particular policy, or that particular law. So just some things to think about.
So as we begin to think about our topic, which is purpose and responsibility of education, as we sit down to kind of work through the AI and decide the topic, I personally was wondering why this is so difficult. Why is it so important for African Americans to give back to their community? I mean, after all, when we talk about white college graduates, we typically see education as a way of bettering self and bettering family. But we don't necessarily see it as a means of bettering community. But when we talk about African American community and African American graduates, there seems to be just a sense of responsibility that they should go back into the community and give back. And so I started to kind of wonder, why is this? Why does it more, education seem more as an enrichment tool of community for African Americans and for self-reliance? And so as I began to look at the demographics, it started to make sense to me. And I just kind of want to go through these with you, and you all have this information on your handouts. And I just want to look at two groups, African American group and white. And the reason for that is because that's where the biggest disparity between those two groups. So this data is from the Department of Education, and the most recent data I could find here is 2009, 2010. So African American associates degree, we have 113,905. Whites with an associate's degree, we have 552,862. That's quite a gap there. It gets even more significant when we look at the bachelor's degrees. African Americans with a bachelor's degree, 164,844. Whites with a bachelor's degree, 1,167,499. With a master's degree, African Americans have 76,458. Whites 445,038. And with doctoral degree, it's even more rare. 10,417 African Americans, as opposed to 104,426 whites. So you see the numbers bear witness to why we as African Americans need to go back to our communities and give. The data shows that there's significantly fewer African American graduates, and that most African Americans we know have been barriers that could put them from attending our outreach. So I just want to kind of quickly go through what this is just these barriers. So we know that we have inequitable distribution of teacher quality, which means that more experienced teachers, better quality teachers, frequently are found in suburban schools and not in inner city schools. We have a lack of financial investment in inner city schools, which equates to a lack of student resources. And the last point, actually there are two more. We have an underrepresentation of African American students in college prep classes, so when you go and walk in school, you go to college prep classes, they get these classes, they are overwhelmingly hard. And also, there's arbitrary labeling that's happening of students of color in regards to special education. And most students will refer to special education. Actually, once that machine gets going, it's gone. So they're typically under that label. And there are lots of arbitrary labels such as emotional disability, behavioral disability, and just learning disability. And that can be so subjective. It can be based on cognitive mathematics of the teacher of the student in the classroom, based on how the student dress, how the student speaks, anything. And again, once that training is going. So those are just some of the reasons that I found in researching this, that it is really important for African Americans to give back to their community once they have it. Because if we don't do it, we just want to. So I'll turn it over to
So mine kind of carries on from Cameron's. And the big question being, what is our responsibility to our community? Is it our duty and our responsibility to give back after we receive an education? And then it opens up to bigger questions of, do some of us have more responsibility than others? And what does that mean? And then in the ever globalizing world, what do we define as our community? There's an internet site where you can go and you can look at the neighborhoods of the United States. And you can see again that we know that there's a lot of factors in mind, but I have this link on here. And basically this is showing you by race. Blue is white, green is black, red is Asian, yellow is Hispanic, and then there's the other category. And just through exploring this, we can often see that our communities, from the quote from Bell Hooks, all too often we think of our community in terms of being with folks like ourselves, the same class, the same race, the same ethnicity, and the same social standing in the life. But we need to be wary, especially those of us that have the privilege of getting this education, and that we don't just reinforce these divisions that are happening, and decide what is our responsibility, not only to stay within the community that we've been raised in, but what is our responsibility to outside communities and bridging that communication. So those are some questions.
you want to play for you? Like I said in the beginning, I have been educated on my questions and all throughout my teaching.
Didn't mean to do that.
What I found is, I may have 30 students, so I have some students working, so I have some not working. But my philosophy to them will be, if you are not learning, it's not your fault, it's mine. That was my philosophy. I take responsibility. And just as I take responsibility, I feel that I teach them that because I feel very strongly that I cannot teach my students not to fall, but I need to teach them how to get up and to fall. They will fall. I cannot prevent them from not falling. So that is my philosophy. And I want to share what is grit. While I was growing up, I didn't use the word grit. I used the word drive. I have the drive. The students have the drive. Perseverance. So that's what's grit. And I will.
Grit, put simply, is perseverance and passion for very long-term goals. To say a few more words about it, grit is really about our stamina, how consistently we're working in certain directions and how hard we're working in that direction. It is not about intensity. I've had young people come to me after talks and say, well, let me just tell you how great I am. I spent 72 hours without sleeping, and I did this amazing thing. And I congratulate them. But I say, so what did you do the next week? And how many years have you been working on this? So when we assess grit by looking at people's biographies, for example, we don't necessarily look for bursts of unusual productivity or effort, but we really look for constancy of effort over time. I have actually for several years been grappling with the question of whether virtues like grit are only virtues in the middle of the spectrum. So do you have something like the Aristotelian notion of the golden mean, where excessive grit as well as insufficient grit are both bad? I've lately come to the opinion, and I really is an opinion because I don't have data to support this, that it's not necessarily that you can have too much grit. What you can have is grit in the absence of other key virtues. So, for example, if you're an extraordinarily great person who lacks judgment, or humility, or honesty, or empathy and kindness, you can see where grit would, magnify ill effects. But I don't necessarily think that is the problem of being a 10 out of 10 on the grit scale. Let me start off by saying that in our research studies, for many outcomes like finishing West Point, grit actually is more predictive than IQ or SAT scores. But I think the real question is not which is more important or more predictive. What it really is important to do is to highlight the undervalued role of effort. I feel like we live in a culture where we talk about talent all the time. In fact, I once was asked to do a media presentation, and they actually do refer to people as talent, as in, has a talent showed up? Did talent show up to makeup yet? Talent has to be on in 5 minutes. So this kind of obsession we have with, whether we are or are not gifted and talented, whether we do or do not make some talent threshold is misplaced. And if anything, I would hope that my research doesn't necessarily undermine talent, because I think talent exists. I'm not a particularly talented driver, for example. But we vastly underestimate how much effort, practice, time on task really determines ultimate performance. So resilience and grit, I've often asked the question of sort of how does resilience affect grit, or is resilience the same thing as grit? I would say that resilience, if you define resilience as bouncing back from adversity, that would be one of the things that would be a precursor to grit. But I don't think it's exactly the same, because if you're somebody who, well, things are hard, you bounce back, that is one thing that you need to be gritty, but not the only thing. You also need a passion, right? You also need something that you're really committed to working on over the long term, and being resilient doesn't guarantee that.
So, want to hear from Dr. Ray in July, in perseverance. I don't think I would be sitting here without an education, of course, and I don't think I would be where I am without grit, perseverance, and confidence. I truly believe also that most people say either you're born with grit or you're not born with grit. Either you have it or you don't have it. I don't agree with that. I think we can teach them, we can show them the way, and not to quit in the face of adversity. Because what I'm telling you is what I tell my students all the time. When you are facing some adversity, you are down in the valley, and that's where you learn. And if you just give up, then you will not get that kind of experience. So I want to know what you all think also.
Okay, so that concludes the information that we have to share with you. And so at this point, we want to remind you that there is food available. There's a lot on the table. Everyone should be comfortable, relax. And at this point, we'll also open it up for questions and comments and dialogue.
Hi. My name's Clyde Goff, 32-year veteran teacher, K-12 settings. First started teaching at Minneapolis Public Schools in 1984. We went to New Palestine schools. I was in K-6 education for 30 years. Now I'm teaching high school. New Palestine High School. So my experience with practicing teacher-centered experience and child-centered experience. With respect to the term grit, of course, the teacher models teacher models behaviors that should be, can be emulated by students. Of course, you could order the behavior up if you wanted to structure the room with Pavlovian structure, rewards and punishments. But if you were a teacher who structured the room for self-expression and student interest, the personalities of the children really come through. What I see, because I've been teaching general education populations for a long time, is that we talk about grit, and the teacher can emulate grit, and they can command grit. They could have that expectation. But I don't think that general education populations, there is still needs to be awareness of the heterogeneity of the populations that we serve. For example, you don't know if a child is a child who has mental illness. You don't know if a child has neurological disposition. You don't know if a child has any number of physiological conditions that may affect their attentional capacity, and executive function. So, grit is all well and good. A teacher can model it, a teacher can expect it. But there are circumstances that have to be accounted for, I think, when you start talking about grit. And especially thinking about general population. You don't know if a child has been neglected at the home. You don't know if a child is suffering from any kinds of stress, post-traumatic stress. It can affect their performance long term. So, you as a veteran educator, I'm sure you understand that. But from my perspective, and I hear this emphasis of grit nowadays. It's a new word that's gone out. It's a buzzword. It's a buzzword. Yeah. But I think, with this emphasis now, with the intensification of standardized test scores, you think about the purpose of education. It's to help a child become all that they can be. If you think about the biological aspects and neurological aspects of learning, where the neurological networks are expanded and strengthened, with multisensory experience, with experiential learning. I think expecting grit when a child has had to fill on a teacher-centered activity or any kind of compulsory educational activity, I think it's not democratic. It's not a democratic educational experience. Of course, we know democratic educational experience within the classroom setting is very rare in this day and age. Unless you send your child to an independent school. I've talked too long.
Thank you. And please introduce yourself.
I taught for a number of years in a former teacher at high school. But I know it's all right to have that grit and emulate stuff. You got to challenge the students. I had a young man who came into high school and he was ready for a first grade reading. In order for me to teach him, he loved to cook. So I hooked him up with a homework teacher. And if he could learn to read those recipes, and he did. When he left my class, he left third grade, he said third grade reading. Oftentimes we have teachers that have these pass outs. And you said, make it angry. They sit there and they've been teaching for years. They pass. You gotta tell us. I did this program once. It was an intercourse, I call it. I did a survey of the students to see what they were interested in. would you be a student interested in fashion design, cooking, or being a lawyer, or being a judge? And I came across this situation where, I may be talking about this, I came across this situation where I developed a problem. Now, this plant is about to attack, to get out. So we want to go into the sky. We got a spaceship, but it's coming soon. So you're gonna have to modify the spaceship, and you're gonna have to go into the core of Earth. Now, we know it's too hot to go in there, but I did this time. And what I did, I set up a problem here. I said, I need the person that wants to be a fashion designer to research, find out the different materials will be favorable. I did the same with what food would be fine. And they studied because they wanted to do this. Then I had another problem where the crew wanted to sue the commanders. And what they had to do in order to sue, they had to go and interview lawyers, interview judges, and found what the proper manner of doing these things were. And also they had to, we had a mock court where they had to present their own defense and so forth. You got to challenge students. Challenge. And my daughter here, she teaches here, she teaches science. And she teaches them from the point of view, not just the papers. I never learned anything about science. I hate science. Give them an exercise. You got to challenge. You got to challenge the students. You got to.
That's great.
But I'm telling you.
Paula?
I was listening to Mr. Ramsey, and I am so about democratic education, but having had 5 children that I personally raised, and then some other children that wound up coming to live with us, auxiliary children. Everyone, the teacher was standing in front of the classroom with, even if it's 15 sets of eyeballs looking at you, each one of those children is so different. So democratic education. I know John Laughlin is an associate and a good friend, and it's something that he's really super made us aware of. And I thought it was just, it is such a wonderful idea. But even in my own home, and I wanted each one of those children to do all that they can do. Just, don't not challenge yourself, don't not try. But it was always about the community. It was always about the family needs you. The community needs you. So in all the things that you want to do, unless you plan to go in a cave someplace, you need to do what you have to do. You need to have grit. So you can keep moving. Put a community. You need not wither away because things that are some task that you have to. And I like to remind, even mine back, it was right after Vietnam. It was this nice. It was a peaceful time in my career. And then things started jumping off and the ship was out there trolling around. And I would remind youngsters of things that was going on. It's not like your life is better because somebody else's life is worse. But youngsters need to know. Grit, suppose you're in that situation. So grit is an important characteristic. So while you do what you think is best and what you want to do, and that's all wonderful and fine, but life isn't just all about you. And somewhere along the way, as gently as possible, I took the ones that I raised by me and tried to guide them there. And then their friends, but I understand the situation that you're talking about, all those kids in school. But grit's don't keep seeing it when the winds of change beat them down. Like right now, with climate change, as much as I love all this false spring that we had a week ago, it's scary. and they have to get ready for it. So,
You answered a question about your concerns. I really, respect all your concerns, but mine is not just student with itself responsibility too. I think the student, I know, there's always, there are lots of monsters, kids like monsters. There are lots of, dragons. We're sending our kids out to slay the dragon, to overcome this, to overcome that. My thing is, I have to arm my kids. I have to make them, see this, I have to make them strong, I have to build their character, engage with it. And when you say what you said, I agree. I'm speaking from my experience. I have, sort of like been isolated. I have never had a special ed student, I've never taught one. I taught AP chemistry, so all the students that are, the cream of the crop, they come to me. So I did have a lot of experience with teaching special ed, I wish I could, but I'm coming from my perspective. I know there are others, but, I like to arm my students internally before they can fight externally. That's what I think.
I'm not against grit.
I know.
I'm not against challenging students. What I'm saying is that public schools today are structured around radical behaviorism, Pavlovian behaviorism. And so when children are captured at kindergarten, and I've seen how they shuffle children down the hallway like they're in a chain gang.
Yeah.
And then the children look at each other and they go, shh,
I know.
shh,
Yes.
and then they start shushing each other.
Yeah.
So the school becomes this institution of control. And I'm not against grit. I'm against how it is, yes, well, I'm against the ignoring of children's innate capacities. I'm against the, not allowing them to self-organize. I'm not, I've worked with children, I see what they do. I see if you give them, opportunities to play with materials that a teacher will set up, invariably they're going to be doing all kinds of scientific experiments. And the teacher who's familiar with emergent curriculum, and we were talking a little bit about that, a teacher who can design curriculum with the interest of the child can connect with emotional drive, which is basically grit. Now it becomes personal.
can I ask you a question
Yes.
for the panel? So are we construing the word education to mean academia?
You're gonna hear what you asked. So your question was,
Are we
construing education to academia?
Academia.
So that is one definition that comes out of, I think, things.
So you said academia is just knowledge, it's knowledge?
No, academia is an institution,
Oh, I see. But you know, I think critical thinking is important.
and I think,
When we teach the children so they can think and figure out stuff.
well, and what I'm seeing on this piece of paper is academia, because this is dealing more with institutional education, so to speak.
Right.
As if I, just phrase it like that.
It's a great
Yeah.
perspective. When we started out, remember when the concept we gave was a social construct? How is it that we come about words and then the definition of that word? And then how does that definition become powerful? And then how is that power put within that definition perpetuates what this means for different
Well, historically, academia was a place where you sent your child to be educated by someone other than you. Education can come from anywhere. And so if we're looking at the whole idea of the responsibility of education, I'm looking at me.
not Lottie, Dottie, and every damn body else. You see what I'm saying? That's all right, because by the time I send my children out this groupie, and they don't come back knowing the ABCs, then it's my responsibility. Now, as it relates to grit, I decided in second grade, I did not have what it took. My teacher was done with the rocks. And I'm not saying they were done for real, but that was my perception of them. Because they didn't know words I could read on the film strip. So I'm saying, if I'm a second grader, and I can read that word and you can't, something's wrong. Okay, why are you teaching me? So, fast forward to 12th grade. Academia was this boom. It drove me crazy. It rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't have patience to get it. So guess what? Simple like that. 12th grade. I would have done it in the 11th, but they wouldn't let me. Because academia just did not give me enough stimulation. The institution. Now you used to sit outside the cold, and I was straight. I was out there, my GL, what's wrong with blocks and stuff, my geography lessons, I was doing home economics. I do everything in the cold bed.
So how did you define at that point in your life? How were you defining education? And then what was the purpose of that education for you?
The education is for me to quest that knowledge. Just quest that knowledge. And then, if I want to compound that, or write the application of that knowledge, okay, which kind of leans toward wisdom. Because I can be, Einstein smart, but really people are usually not applying knowledge the right way. So I need to be able to apply that. When I look at this, I think about the Greek philosophers who all had schools, okay, which is where we did the word initial academia from. I forget which one of them was called the school academy. But parents were sending their young people off to have them pursue something. It might have been gymnastics, or gymnastics, or whatever the case may be. But government has hijacked education. So now, if you ask me, education is the proliferation and propagation of propaganda.
That's what
Because the proliferation and propagation of propaganda. Okay, so because I was in school back in the day, we had to hide under the desk because the Russians would come. Okay, now somebody, there's no boogeyman, okay? There's no boogeyman. And so in school, we're being taught who that boogeyman is. And you have to hide from him or run or defend yourself, or whatever the case may be. But students like me are looking at you and saying, what are you talking about? This just, no.
So what is the purpose of an education today? We send our kids off to school. They spend most of their time in school than they do anywhere else.
I would not do that. I would not. Okay, let's go biblical for 1 minute. I'll be quiet. I'll go biblical for 1 second. In Deuteronomy, God told Israel, you, parents, teach your children about me. When you wake up, when you go out, when you come in, when you go out wayside, when you let out. Education was always the parents' responsibility. So it wasn't, rocket science. I'm going to go ahead and grow some food. The Jews were great peoplesmiths. They were great, great butchers, great bakers and candlestick makers. Okay, so I'm going to teach children how to do everything. And they created a great economy. When you get down to the reality of what is an education supposed to do, we've said it's supposed to create some massive amounts of income. PhDs these days are highly overrated because they're coming down the desert. Like 1 or 2 PhDs and you were lucky. Now everybody has a PhD and the people are really big. Because it's not that you was spending money now, is it is somebody else who was money years ago. I want to get those, we get all started.
My biggest takeaway is I'm an educator. I've been in education for 20 years, teaching education, and the Excel center. So I kind of get students that have dropped out, and now they're coming back because they want to get this thing called education. One of the things that stood out to me so far about this presentation is that I'm really trying to wrap around my brain is this definition of what is the purpose of education. I like this definition, and I wish that this was what the purpose of education was today. Because if it was, we would be having a totally different conversation.
Right.
And so my takeaway from this conversation is, what can I do in my role to make sure that the students that I am working with and that I'm educating understand that the purpose of education is to create peace for everyone. And so just listening to the conversation, I'm so glad that I came. I think I'm taking this definition and post it up because I wish this is what our world will be here every day.
I work in public policy a lot, so I get a very interesting perspective on what people think education is. So down at 200 West Washington, I sat through a local committee, labor committee actually, where they passed a bill to create a partnership between IUPUI and some of the big Indiana manufacturing groups and things like that, so that they can plug in where they're missing workers into the college system, so that they can promote and adapt coursework and promote students areas where industry is short labor. So they think this is a wonderful bill. You're adding stuff on the back. And it seems like a good idea on the face, like, yeah, so, but really it serves a very powerful financial interests globally. It's, students who go to IUPUI typically are there because they want to get good jobs. They're not there for like the life of the month. Maybe some of them are. But, they're not there like, exploring they're usually going there for STEM classes and this relentless obsession with STEM. Even in the state capital, this is bipartisan. It is heavily about, not that long they're there that much about science, but because of powerful financial interests in the state wanting to fill their workforces and grow manufacturing and expand their shareholder value and things like that. So yeah, I get a very, very financial definition of education. You must be first of all, a functioning member of society without that money, and be able to support yourself. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but of course it raises higher questions about what is a liberal democracy and people, like you're saying, who maybe never be able to do the things, the tasks, the rote tasks that you would expect of them in order to be self-regulating. So for me, it brings up issue of equity, like an equitable education will not be equal for all students. And since we fight so hard for protecting public education, and to most people, a fight for equal public education is about that everyone has a school that looks the same, operates the same, has the same for student funding and things like that. That may not be the case. To be equitable, we may have to have schools that look a lot from each other. But that gets very controversial. That some students don't go into a school that has like their horseback riding. My mom's school had that. Because she taught the kids that the state decided to one place regular like she got the kids, they go for one separate book. No, they were not criminals, but they had a lot of problems. And so they went to this place. And so they had therapeutic horseback riding. So everyone, the local tax base was like, why do they get horses? My local public school doesn't have horses. So this is a tricky public policy avenue to go down. And what is equitable education? Before we even get to topics like teaching peace and creativity and life of the mind stuff, like creating citizens, creating informed citizens,
But for me, I don't live in the public policy world, so I can only do, and I hear everything you said, I appreciate that. But I can only do what I can do. And so when I'm working with my students, I want them to know that the reason for education isn't just for you to get a job. It is to enlighten yourself in your mind. It is to find a job or a career that you enjoy and that you're giving back to the community. But within all that, we have to treat each other respectfully
That's right.
and create peace wherever we are. So that for me is like what education, because to be quite honest, I'm only one person and nobody's gonna listen to me. So what can I do in my world, to make a difference?
Inspired by all this great information, especially in the neighborhood. Right, no church. Came prepared to drop some signs. No, of course, first of all, I can always educate, whether we want to or not. Whatever we do, I walk the line. Children and others are watching, studying, and learning based on our actions. I also the idea of grit. I think grit is critical regardless of whether you're turtle or rabbit, whether you're smart or slow. You got to get up every day and get at it, and that's the only way to get it done. Now I don't know if I have the tools yet to know how to transfer that particular kind of process. I still struggle with that daily as I'm going my journey. So there's also in between training and learning and education. Our educational process, like all aspects of our lives, has been hijacked by global corporate capitalism. Everything, even what we think about what we want, even what we think can be human, has now been taken over by this global corporate capitalist model. Even what it means to be smart, taken over by this global corporate model. As I think of young people, like in this community here, I get one short story. Some of the students in the neighborhood discovered that on a day out of school that we were here, because they were just in the hood roaming, and they discovered that there was food in the building. Food was in the building. Then they went out and told their homies, food in the building. Okay, and guess what? There's a lady over there that will feed you. So they would come in and package up the stuff, put in the pocket, take home. So there's a high level skill set there about resources, economic development, social capital, networking. Then Ms. Fair put some rules down a little bit, then they started opening up. They would have a security guard come when Ms. Fair left the kitchen and said, wait a minute, and when she started coming back, alert. So there's a high level of intelligence, skill development. Where they learn it, they go to school to learn it. Because it's like it's the issue of nothing all of us say. And nobody knows is not negatively impacted by the condition of life they're in. In fact, if they say they not, if anybody in the room say that they okay, then they ain't okay. Come on, about it. Even the idea of drug addiction. You know, there's so many folks in this country that's strung out often prescribed by the same global corporate model making them. Those of us on the other end that self-prescribe, whatever self-prescribed medicines are, end up being the criminals and end up getting attacked. So we should separate the idea of training, which is important, because we got to go out here and figure out how to eat, make a living, from what it means to be an educated, thinking person in community, and this idea of respect, etc. At the end of the day, if you don't have social networking skills, you don't get anything done in the world. Right. The so-called dumbest ones that have high social intelligence, trust me, they can't do business. They get on the phone, they get around town. So we have to take back what it means to be educated We need to take back what it means to be a thinker. We need to take back how do we go about doing that. And most of it is just about what we decide to do every day of our lives. So every day of our lives, we get up, we get at it, and say, we got a responsibility to self and responsibility to community, and mainly a responsibility to children. So if we embrace that, then the rest of it figures itself. Really. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I guess my comment first survey we were talking about this. And I guess my thought was at first, well, have I ever seen grit used? How is it water, place, or whatever it might be? And the only thing that I can recall as far as grit being accepted in school, when I was in my bachelor's degree in college, I was in a political science course, and I was doing well, not to evaluate things, but there were students like I do, from other growing up with basically, that was struggling in class. So, on the final time came around, we got together and we studied, and we studied hard, and all this stuff, and at the end of the class, on the final, he had an A+, but that really only netted him about a C in the course. Alright, so I got an A+ too, and she called us both to her office, or office hours, and said, you know what? I'm gonna give you both of them in the class because you worked hard. One thing the other guy, the whole time to get to what dad needs, like getting this, right? So that to me is rewarding grit. But I think about normal class structures. You know, my 7-year-old daughter, I'm going to 10 English words every week. The test there every Wednesday. She can't, and if she doesn't know on Wednesday and says I know on Friday, guess what? She's 0. Not knowing it on Wednesday. Right? So I'm kind of wondering how to take this new focus, buzzword, where everybody knows great, and really change the class structures to work.
You need to give everybody all you can test. That's what you need to do. Measure their IQ. Because you know what? If I'm getting A's, my wife will wake up to get that A. That's not good. I had to do one up. Kind of like, my sister, I came home with a B, and my sister came home with a C. I'm like, I knew. No, she said, you know what, Mama, you can do better. You're not doing your best. Well, if you want to reward students based on grit, you have to know what everybody's capacity is, individually, not collectively.
I have a question. This doesn't bother me. I will use that talk now. How many of y'all make behavior objectives? You know what they are, right? You might call them something else. But why is it we let the government give us a test to test our children when we're using our own behavior objectives? Why is the school system don't get together the behavior objectives that y'all have done and make a test for that school system? How in the heck can we be sure that these children are going to pass that test? That's what these teachers are teaching for the test, for the federal government's test. You don't talk, you got your own, and hey, nobody's mentioning what you don't talk, they gonna bring something down. How can we be so educated we could determine a federal test can be reliable in bringing out what they do? Can anybody answer that question? Maybe I'm not talking. Maybe I'm not saying that. Look, I'm asking about the federal test. Do you think they accurately measure what your children's mentality are taught?
No. I think that kind of goes back to what I just said about measuring independent ability versus collective ability. Because the bell curve measures collective ability, okay? And measures collective ability. So you have this range, the median, the low median, and all that kind of good stuff. And so, you know what, and people go up and like, and the curve, and go, you know, curve in the chest.
Yeah, I know it.
And it hasn't helped curve at the top, in the bell curve, in the top 1%, right? If you curve my test. But if I had, we'll just say, I don't know, personal test quotient, we'll call it, of 190, you know, on my test, I should get 100. You know, I'm not producing like I should. Compared to my own ability, not to someone else.
Bad news for the IUPUI.
I don't always.
It's not what it is. There's a few people that have very interesting high-level talents, like say Mozart, in some area. And there's people at the bottom who have physiological issues, you know. And I'm talking about the bottom. Everything else between is social. And we have lots of research showing we can change that. It's not a dependable measure. It in fact comes out of the eugenics movement, and it comes out of racism.
And I'm not gonna disagree with you.
We're not considered a target group.
At all. Because I had my test once. And, you know, I'm like, this is like, so what they told me was I had a PhD IQ, right? Like, okay, so that's what was happening. And you asked me questions about academia. You know, you asked me questions about things that, you know, I probably learned in school, would have learned in school. If I had learned them on my own.
We have one for you.
So my background is in juvenile justice and then education. I currently work at elementary school on the Mary side, in the IDS district as a parent and home educator. And so I know you brought up parents, and then the community has been brought up. I think that one of the barriers that we see is that teachers, because of all the testing, whether it's I-STEP, I-READ, MWA, or or whatever, SRI, and everything is a letter. And so teachers are tired of the test, they have to do it, they don't really have a choice. But when you talk about challenging students or the difference in grit, you have to start with teachers believing in the students to begin with. And if they don't believe in the students or they don't understand where these kids are coming from as far as their community, then the challenging aspect isn't really there. We have the majority of our teachers live in the suburbs and have no idea what Washington and Quincy, where that's where you have the majority of our students on Quincy, Riley, Arlington, Audubon, and Emerson. You have teachers who are like, no, we want posh Arlington. That's what we want. We're used to that. We're used to Giacomo's and Chef Dan's. Not Georgia Station chicken. We get 2 ranch and 2 and the bread. So when you have teachers who don't understand that these kids are learning already when they're coming from their community, they already understand what asset-based development looks like, they just don't express the lettering. There's a disconnect. When you have kids who love to read, but when they take that reading test, they fail, then they're automatic. You can't read. No, but I can. I can read. I just am not reading to your standard. So as long as we still have a disconnect between the educator and the educatee, then there's not going to be much progress. And the fact that we have to have a parent involvement educator, we have a behavior intervention specialist, we have Gallagher social work, and all these other support systems, the teachers don't want to work with them. They want to work against them because support staff are usually the staff who are like, you can be whatever you want because you're a leader. Everyone is a leader. Teachers are like, now that you don't get the SRI score, not a leader then. And so then it looks like you're favoritism and you're caring too much. When I hear teachers say, we have this new population, and I just don't have to deal with it. That's a microaggression, that's racially charged. Like, we know who we're talking. Like, let's be real, like, let's be honest. And so it's hard because then you brought about racism, race, equity, and that's a whole, the very first piece I started at my school. I know who was intentional and who was not. And so I'm doing racism class flyers and all the teachers knew us. And they didn't understand what the hell, why? What are you trying to imply? That you are deficient in this area. I have the News and Pro in my office. I have all these research papers on racial inequity in public schooling. And they don't. They say that class more than issue race. I don't know why you know, I'm working on that. The way that I go about my position is trying to build those interpersonal relationships. Where if you can build that relationship with students, then I can get parents. I'm not going to build that trust. If we have teachers in the building who look down on a mother because she comes in her pajamas and her flip-flops, that student sees that disdain automatically. And so that student is not going to have respect for the academic institution. Just like what you judge my mother. That's all she got to wear. Why you looking at her? She don't have boots. Relax.
I became a teacher. I was a janitor in the school system. I was a head custodian in school too. I'd go into the teachers' lounges and I'd clean up. They thought I was a piece of furniture. They talk about these students now. I'm the second generation moved from slavery. My parents were sharecroppers. They talk about those children like a dog. I mean, it wasn't just white, it was black. You see? And I went and I asked my family, I said, let me retire from being custodian because you can teach. That's too much. I don't think a child should be penalized. What he wears, how he looks, how he's made up. What the help a child? I take his shoes on my way and my wife and carry them place to place. Then you gotta take a personal interest. When you do that, you get some of the parents to come along and help you. But these things that look at me, I'm a bag of chips and all that junk. You ain't nothing, you're just another soul that God's created. I'm gonna shut up now.
But I mean, you kind of go through the whole legal framework aspect of it. And I know nobody in this room can answer this question, but I'm trying to figure out which Negro decided integration was a good idea.
Come on now. Adam
I told my parents, my dad would tell me this very day, no, that was the worst thing that could have ever happened to him. He said, let me tell you why. Because he had to work in the fields, which means during the crop time or harvest time, you were not going to school, which means you were out of school for 3 or 4 months. You get behind, but with the black schools, he was able to go back. He got right there left on the movie. When the integration happened, you're 3 or 4 months behind, you're going to stay behind. You will never get caught up. So you were never at a point where you were going to be able to accomplish a high school education because you were too far behind. And there was no just, oh, just pass it, just pass it, just pass it. No, you're too far behind. You could stay in the 7th grade for the rest of your adult life or out of school too much.
So I'm gonna put this in the construct of the rubber stand, okay? So, you know, there's this foodie movement going. I'm gonna say this part because I'm a grower, okay? I'm in the urban gardening movement. lily white. I mean, the whole landscape in the city, white people. Everywhere you look, white people growing food. Last time I checked, Negroes were growing everything in this country a long time ago. Okay? And I had white people telling me how to grow food.
And the sun.
Yeah. I'm looking at them like, what? Okay, but now, because white people have decided local fresh organic is cheap. We all want to do it. Okay? Everybody wants fresh, local, and organic. Well, hell, you know what? Black people didn't know that forever. So, to my point, we've been able to do it, but we've always had my favorite character ever in a movie, Kheprw. Okay? He talked about lust.
Tell me about it.
The eyes can only lust after what the eyes can see. Okay, so we looked over there and saw them with some new books, acting like there's some new knowledge coming in the world. Some new knowledge coming in the world.
No new knowledge.
My old books probably said in an antiquated Victorian kind of way, but we decided if they have new books, we need new books. And they have shiny white teachers. We need shiny white teachers too. No, it's like the resource part is the part that bothers me, because as a grower, I know I don't have to go and buy new seed every year. I need to save some of my seed, and I don't need to go and get all these resources from somewhere else. My resources are at the top of my head, which goes back to the community. My father was a second grade educated man, the best rigger-majigger. I'll say that in this time. Best rigger-majigger in the world. We would say engineer. This man could create, formulate, fabricate anything. But he wasn't educated. He didn't need it because his mind worked that way. So we have the resources in our community, but we want them to have alphabet soup behind their name.
So I guess along that line, something that comes to my mind is the fact that, to answer your question, which Negro decided, right? All right, so going back to what I'm calling it, I apologize, but right there.
Technique,
No.
Diana.
I get it. But she was saying earlier about the case law and stuff like that, it's funny, the fact that, you know, the terminated education is a human right, right? So when you get to that point, and then you get, you know, the destruction, or not the destruction, but the transition of Jim Crow, right? All right, so then, when Jim Crow transitioned, that's what became part of the society and the government. Before that, worked, right? It was just people mixing with people who were part of the government society, okay? So once we become a part of that social structure, at that point in time, because education is a human right, whether or not it was lusting for new books or whatever, whether or not that happened, at that point in time, it is okay for one people to stand up and say, well, wait a minute, if I'm part of your society, I should be getting my education the same way as this person is also a part of society to get their education. So I think that part kind of legally happens on its own. Okay? Now, whether or not the community wants to say, I'm bought into education now. I'm going to give my role as a parent in educating my child and go ahead and send my child off to, you know, Hamilton, Olympic school, whatever it is. That's a different question.
You better know it.
But I think legally, integration has to happen as a service of the government to its citizens. Unless we become citizens. I mean, now we still are full citizens, right? But once we become citizens, the government has that same duty to provide that service of education to us. And then you get into the questions I'm confused with that, how we make that adequately.
What was your name?
But are we integrated?
What's your name again?
My name is Glenn. I'm sorry, my name is Glenn Anderson, and I'm just somebody here calling me.
And I think the government is reactive.
Always.
They respond because, you know, I don't know, somebody grows, some this, you know, a white person said, this is not right. This is not fair. You don't get to do some of that.
Well,
No,
But you,
but I think the issue of integration it's complicated. The issue of education and integration are intertwined, and that the fight to abolish slavery in that form is ongoing and continues to this day.
always,
And so while those struggles have not yielded equitable society or have not abolished white supremacy, has not eliminated white privilege, and all those other things, it is a particular part of our struggle that was critical and informs the current struggle. I was at a program the other day, some youngsters at Butler taking a political science class, and they arguing that, Black Lives Matter is way different from the civil rights movement. And I'm old school, and I'm not real sure if I totally agree with that, but that's a piece of that. But lastly, on this issue of education, that anytime a community turns its children over to the same
government,
community, the same population that are responsible for its conditions, it is decided to stay enslaved. I mean, that's the simplicity of it. And it's, if you had a vampire in your community and you sit down and negotiate terms, the vampire still gonna suck blood, sign that treaty or not. And so, I mean, there's a lot of examples that are challenging in education. W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. At the end of the day, the outcomes end up being the same. The outcomes end up being the same, So we, as people of color, we really still have a struggle tied in the issue of race, racism, and white supremacy. What the hell do we do about it? And so I would say, damn if we do, damn if we don't, in a lot of ways. And so it's a conversation I think we need to continue to have. But at the end of the day, of course, for me, my lens is you acquire any and all kinds of skill sets, resources, and critical thinking that can help lead to your community's liberation.
I just want to go back and just close out.
Could I say
The
this?
last comment about my dad. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know Julius Rosenwald? Back in 1900, Booker T. Washington was the president of Tuskegee. Julius Rosenwald came together with Booker T. Washington, and he built 5,000 schools down there under the Jim Crow. Out in the rural areas, I know you had to, we blacks had to walk to school a couple of miles, and they had teachers in there maybe only had gotten a 6th grade education. But they were teaching. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it can be done. You don't have to give it to the government. The government don't care. You have to make sure your students. With me, when I was a janitor, I'd bring on flashcards and flash into mine. The parents' education is basically from the parents. We got children raising children, they being taught. They don't care about education. All they care about is dope. They care about drinking. Look at the TV and see how many dates on there where the people don't drink. They're not talking about nothing education. But he did it. Joseph, he was one of the richest men in the United States in clothing. His parents came from abroad. And him and Booker T. Washington did it. And that's the reason we got education. My mother only went to 3rd grade. They had to take her out. She had to chop cotton. And hey, working in white people's houses, she was so small she could stand on a tub in order to put the clothes on the line. But you couldn't beat her reading, writing, and mathematics. She probably doing her numbers. She had these big words. Shakespeare said, "Rose by the name is still a rose." I was a head custodian, but the man told me, he said, "You don't want to go to college, you're a head custodian." I said, "I'm a head toilet cleaner." What you talking about? You understand what I'm telling you? Labels don't make you. You better put the labels away and go on and teach these children critical thinking and social skills. Literacy. Thank you.
Providing an opportunity to learn. That was what my dad wanted. I said, I just wanted the opportunity to learn, and that was taken away from me. And when I think about the purpose of education in the context of what we're talking about, what I'm hearing is we have all these different ideas of what this means, and I really like to question, well, wait a minute, how is it that you're even defining this education? Because I think that's critical to try to unpack. Well, before we can get to the purpose, what is this education? What is it that we're calling an education? And I'll go back to this one framework here from the Declaration of Human Rights. Parents and legal guardians have the right to choose appropriate schooling for their children. What does that mean? What happened to that power? Who took that away, or who redefined that? What are we looking at now? And what is this purpose that we're striving to enforce what this education is supposed to be? From whose perspective, and who does it benefit, and who does it hurt?
Well, we want you guys to eat something. I've been taking notes galore, as I can say. It's hard to sum up everything we've been going, but truly, the reason we wanted you guys to write things down and leave it with us is because we could go on these topics forever. There's so many different subtopics within the giant question. We talked about the definition of education, or what academia is. We talked about teacher and student interaction. We talked about racism. We talked about public policy. We talked about, is it trained? Are we training students versus are we educating students? Talked about IPS and local neighborhoods and teachers coming from outside. There's an IQ test to measure intelligence. What is grit? So as you can see, these go all over the place, but I'm excited as a PhD student to come into the community and see the various opinions, and then from that kind of form a better idea of what direction I want to head into. So I just want to share my appreciation and thank you guys all for sharing that. One of us have something?
So, Deanna, I thought what you said was so important about what your father shared with you about education, about having the opportunities. And I think when I'm thinking about it, it comes down to this. So many students at a very early age, and this kind of harkens on what Tamara, you talk about a lot, either are stuck with a label or get pigeonholed into these certain roles through a formalized education. We're told now that we need to have Head Start programs so that because students are already behind by the time they get, whether that's true or not, we now have this construct that a kindergartner should be reading at the second grade level. And there's these pressures that are put on it. And when Ruby was talking about the idea of slaying the dragon, and I thought to myself, some of these students are beat down and not given that opportunity before it even starts. We don't even give students sometimes the tools emotionally or physically through the allocation of resources, whether it's teacher quality, whether it's the resources in their classroom. Take a look at the Detroit Public Schools and how the dialogue is being framed there about the teachers being greedy, wanting more money, but then we look at pictures within those classrooms, and 30 miles away, students have access to asbestos-free, mold-free, vermin-free classrooms. And I don't know, I was just kind of thinking about how education was probably broke before the big standardized test movement, and Jim has, helped me challenge some of my thoughts on that this past semester. But I do see that, unfortunately, what's happening more and more is that students are coming into binary constructions of themselves. I'm good or I'm not good at something. We see it. There's a Dutro and Sullivan research study called "I like reading, but I'm not good at it," where a bunch of students talk about, well, I think I like reading, but all these tests say I don't know how to do it. And we see that with gender differences in mathematics and science, where young females get messages that they aren't supposed to be good at those things, or because 70-80% of the teaching staff is female, and will give messages such as, well, I'm not really good at math, or you'll get that later on. And so, I think those are some important things to come about with education is how students, because they are in this formalized setting, come to construct their own identity in very simplistic terms. And that's worrisome for me, I guess.
I would, when you think of certain vocabulary, there are always these words like good, but then there are also opposite words like at risk, where we label kids instead. But you mentioned that the education system has been broken for a long time. Like the criminal justice system, I feel like it's not broken. I feel like that it's operating as it was intended, and that all systems are following a specific agenda to maintain marginalization of people. So when you are looking at the rest of your study, whether it's gender or racial, think about that perspective, that it's actually not broken, and that in order to fix it, as you mentioned earlier, it requires a systemic dismantling and rebuilding from the inside out.
I guess when I read the question, responsibility of education, I thought you meant what is responsibility of education the thing? Did you mean that education?
Well, I'm going to kind of look at both. What is the responsibility? Why is there this expectation of responsibility specifically for African Americans? Because, and even we even see this with African American athletes, African American actors, or what have you. Anybody that ascribes to a certain level of prestige or cachet or a certain economic level within our community, we as a Black community tend to say, "What are you doing? How are you giving back?" And we don't see that in the Black community.
Okay.
We're just kind of talking through why is that?
I guess I would say that. I might say, number one, I think that the emphasis for the larger community is there simply because everything is set up that even into that community is not a course. So even when they are cloaked in their rugged individualism, they're going after everything here from them and theirs, it's automatically that they're putting their money in banks that feed their community. They're spending money in hospitals that feed their community. Everything is set up for every action that they make to feed their own community. When it comes to other communities, not just African Americans, but our communities, right, these communities exist largely outside of this larger community. And the engagement points of that larger community are sparse and more communities. Okay? So, for instance, when I leave and I go to education, I'm generally going to ask myself the question, how can I do something to feed my community? It has to be something more than just saving money and family to feed my community. It has to be more than going out to the good store that doesn't employ people who look like me or who have the same preferences I have. I've got to take extra steps to actually engage my community and be part of the community.
I like that. One, simply put, African Americans who have escaped the conditions of their communities have done that because others before them have had to the home struggle. It's as simple as that.
Say that
It's
again.
plain and simple. that folks who have escaped those conditions that are community. Now their effort is important, no doubt. You got to put in, you got to have grit, acquire some skills, and then get out and make it happen. But you are there because people before you struggle to make sure that happens. So you got a responsibility, you got a debt to pay. Now, white people have a debt to pay. It's called white privilege. They have white privilege brought, acquired on the back of the entire community of African people. So there's two groups that owe, and they owe in different ways. One, people of color who have very successful, got their degrees, got their cars, got their homes, get to travel around the world. That didn't just happen on their individualism. People had to invest their lives and their energy to bring about change. You owe. That can't be made. And the other group of folks also, they owe. Still collecting the benefit from that debt. That's unpaid debt. Middle class. So everybody in the room, put in.
I have a.
Well, you made a great point, man. I really like that you did that home, because I was really struggling with your question. I thought it was a great question, but I was scribbling on the paper, trying to really figure out what exactly does that mean. And I just really like that you brought that home. I really like that debt piece. That's heavy. That's big. That's big. So really, no one. So you have this big system that where a person with white privilege automatically feeds into that. I mean, that's huge. And then the fact that none of us can escape the debt, no matter what. I mean, and so to me, that goes back to the other question. I'm struggling with grit because I'm just thinking, that's a white individualistic mindset. This whole concept of grit, which speaks to the narrative of all you have to do is work hard and you can make it, and it totally ignores the whole concept of institutionalized racism. It ignores that. And so I agree. I mean, I know a lot of people in neighborhoods I've grown up with, a lot of friends, they worked hard. My mother worked very extremely hard, and at the end it was called the glass ceiling. Now I understand it to be called, it was just literally institutionalized racism, why she was not promoted as a district manager. My mother was the manager of a credit agency. And she climbed the ranks, but it was clear her responsibility was to keep the natives quiet. But she was not going to be given more responsibility than that. And that's an institutional concept. So I'm struggling with this whole notion of creating, working hard, because I just still think that there are systemic issues. Don't get me wrong. I think that you should work hard.
It's a tricky slope.
So I agree that working hard is extremely important, but I don't think that we should assume that that is the only way to success. I think we have to keep in mind that there are other practices that are in place that prevent.
Grit's not gonna get the door.
That's just not going to.
Jim talks a lot about blame and right.
So I wanna connect two dots. And in the middle, I wanna put out a shameless plug. Before I came here, I saw Lynn's Facebook post about how her autistic son's grades or his scores had risen 35% since she veganized him. And so a lot of times we're not connecting the dots between food and mood or food and learning. So here's my shameless plug. You can pull out your phone, go to Facebook. And you need to do two things. You need to find Street Beats, Street Side Market Garden. You need to like it, and invite your friends to like it. Street Beats, beats with 2 E's. Okay. Like a beat, like a beat, like a purple beat. Street Beats, Street Side Market Garden. You need to like, you need to comment, you need to share, invite people to like. And you need to find Kheprw's event that's coming up on the 2nd Saturday this month. We're talking about food and sex. We'll just say sex education and make it work. But the connection between the good food is that it's just like, you know, good food and the mind. And in a lot of our schools, we have children that are in school who are eating substandard food. If they eat, they aren't prepared to learn. And so when you're talking about the educational injustices, you have to look at all the other injustices that swirl around. You know, we're not just talking about mama coming to school with pajamas on and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about these kids just don't have good food. They don't have good water. What's an example? They don't have good hair. They don't have any of those good things that help to accommodate and facilitate a mind that's just learn. So if you want to talk about what education is, you know, outside of academia, you can come to the street, beat Marcus Garden. Marcus Garden will show you how to grow food. That's my shameless plug.
So I guess I wanted to just go back to what Imhotep was saying about the fact that the progress that we've seen over generations or as a community or whatever has been met with struggle. It's always wrought with struggle. And I think that with that comes the fact that now a percentage, and we can argue whether it's growing and how big it is and all that other stuff, but there's a percentage of people who have risk aversion. I don't want to struggle, therefore I'm not going to get back to the community. I'm not going to re-engage that struggle I came out of. They're just tired of the struggle, they're tired of the version, and they simply choose to disengage.
And they need to pay a price for that. The community needs to hold them accountable for that. Because they owe risk aversion out, there's a debt they owe. Nobody say you got to move back to the hood and fight crack dealers. Nobody's saying that, but they have some accountability above and beyond their own success. Now, if they don't want to pay it, then they should be made to pay it. Communities should, like they did in the 60s. You know, when folks got on the wrong side of the story, they got called out about it. You know, the Black Lives Matter called out Bernie Sanders, saying, you're on the wrong side of this, man. Get right. So, it's okay to be risk averse, but you got a price you pay. You just owe. I'm sorry. You owe. And if you, sooner or later, the price gonna get paid.
I think that the price.
Baltimore is an example of it. Soon Chicago. This crime that's been committed in Chicago, where the whole city government ignored the shooting of a teenager. So the election was over. That's a criminal act. That's a form of terrorism. Flint is a form of terrorism. There's terrorist acts taking place around the country. So risk aversion is not fight on campaign. So get on board, make a contact, and let me know. You got to come back and say, hey, I'm all my money is good.
And I think that especially those who have children, you don't help those struggling communities that you come out of. Your children will be left with that mess. Look at what's going on in Chicago. It's 51 homicides in January. I mean, they moved 26 Kheprw Green 13-story projects to gentrify it and snatched up all those people and put them somewhere. Put them somewhere, not in the same place where they were, where they could get all the social services or however they handled it. Stuck those, and now, I mean, when I see gentrification happening here, not revitalization, but gentrification and development. But when I see it happening, then people just get snatched up and sent out to Mid-Hoffa and 21st, Polston 38. And I've lived here since 79. I remember what that community used to look like. I know what it looks like now. So you will pay. Those who have escaped will pay. And your children will have the fallout of trying to fix what you didn't step to.
I have a couple of
And we have post-it notes too. Yes. So I'm gonna put over there. So if we wanna keep comments and you guys wanna contribute, we will put them by the door over there as well. So before you leave, anything else you wanted to add and say, and if you wanna share with us.
So all kind of depends on like
Yeah.
to share.
Oh, yes. And do that.
First of all, this here.
I want to say real quick about one, and in education.
Water, can you do it in 60 seconds?
I can.
One, do it, sis.
Academia says there's no empirical evidence to support. I can tell everybody in Flint how to purify their water with a 35-cent whatever fix from the grocery store. But nobody's going to Flint to say you need to purify your water. Bottled water will only satisfy your thirst. You still have to bathe in that crap. And education, somebody should be educating them to say, this is what you do to be able to sit in a tub of water. But academia will not do that because there's no empirical evidence to say citric acid will take the lead out of your water. Well, there it is, but they won't share that.
The lady that was sitting over here earlier, Aaron, she's with Urban Charter. There's a bill going through Indiana. And one of the things that we want us to do, she had to leave, was to pass these out, you know, more informed about a particular bill in relation to the environment. So, passing it along.
Please have food every week.
And then, two, Sybil was mentioning the food sex event on the second Saturday of the month at 4 o'clock.
Day before Valentine's.
Day before Valentine's. And in addition to that, food and entertainment, there's some initiative we're launching to connect local food farmers, provide healthy food in the community with residents. So please join that. And the third Sunday at 1 o'clock, give me a little bit about what we're doing third Sunday at 1 o'clock.
The indigenous people's history of the United States.
And you're all welcome to join us for that. On that same day at 4 o'clock, some young African American males will be providing a panel discussion
On Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, Between the Rowings, it's a letter, book size, to his son. He's African American, and this is to his son, who's 15 years old, about what he's going to be facing. And it's all about him and his reaction to, and to try to stabilize him as he moves forward with racism always staring him in the face, and how to put his shoulders back and just move ahead with this life. With some of that grit.
Great book, great reading.
Four more of these.
We're delaying the case here. But if I tell you it's perseverance and passion.
And then lastly, 4 more of these particular sessions. Is it every other Friday?
Yeah, we're 2 weeks.
Every other Friday for 2 weeks.
I don't think it's exactly every.
Roughly that, 6
One is
o'clock.
on the 19th.
We're on the 19th, we're next.
So, if, like Sybil, if you follow Kheprw, get on Facebook, the calendar's available, if you put your name on the email, we'll send out some email reminders. And last, but definitely not least, this is a self-funded, community initiative, which means we're here because you guys support us. And so the fish tank is empty, which means the fish are starving to death over there. Drop some money in, go online, hit the PayPal button, or if you've got organizations that can use social media services, see the KI New Media team that's live streaming out video, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you so much.
Please support our work. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
I enjoyed
hosting.
it.
Thank you so
That
much.
was fun. That was fun.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out on Friday night. Thank you so much.
Hey.
Oh, Ruby, what kind of cake did you bring?
Yes.
Hi. Here we go. I can tell you right now. Get one of those plates. Oh, man. Strawberry cream cake. Oh, my God. I don't
About